Beneath a wide, endless sky filled with cotton candy clouds, a small sapling named Willow stood in the middle of a lush, enchanted meadow. The meadow lay hidden within the heart of Whisperwood Forest, a place where every leaf, petal, and blade of grass seemed to hum with life. The air was crisp and carried a faint scent of wildflowers and morning dew, while the sun's golden rays filtered through the branches of the towering oak trees that bordered the clearing. Willow was not like the mighty oaks or the stately pines surrounding her. She was young, slender, and still growing, her bark smooth and pale. Her delicate leaves trembled at the slightest breeze, and though she stood alone in the center of the meadow, she never felt lonely. For the whispering wind was always with her, a constant companion that brought her stories from every corner of the forest. The wind was no ordinary breeze. It carried secrets from the hidden hollows, songs from distant mountains, and laughter from bubbling brooks. It swirled playfully around Willow, rustling her leaves in a way that felt like a gentle hug. The wind had a voice, soft and soothing, like a lullaby sung by the forest itself. Willow loved to listen to its stories, each one filling her with wonder and helping her grow stronger and wiser. Each morning, as the first rays of sunlight peeked over the treetops, Willow would stretch her tiny branches towards the sky and greet the wind. "Good morning, whispering wind," she would say. "What tales do you have for me today?" The wind would respond with a soft sigh, brushing against her leaves. It would tell her about the fox cubs playing hide and seek near the riverbank, the owl teaching her fledglings to fly under the moonlight, and the wildflowers that danced to the rhythm of a passing stream. Each story painted vivid pictures in Willow's mind, making her feel connected to every part of Whisperwood Forest. One morning, as the dew sparkled on the meadow like tiny stars, the wind came with an unusual urgency. It swirled around Willow, its whispers a little quicker than usual. "Willow," it said, "the forest is stirring today. There is a change in the air. A storm is brewing far beyond the hills." "A storm?" Willow's leaves quivered, not with fear but with curiosity. She had heard of storms in the wind stories, how they brought rain to thirsty rivers and made the trees dance wildly, but she had never experienced one herself. "What kind of storm?" The wind circled her again, gentler this time. "A great storm, young one. It will bring heavy rains, strong winds, and challenges for all the creatures of the forest. But worry not. The forest has weathered many storms before, and this one shall pass too." Though the wind's words were reassuring, Willow couldn't help but wonder what the storm would be like. Would it be frightening? Would it harm her friends? The squirrels that scurried through the branches, the rabbits that hopped through the meadow, or the bluebirds that sang so sweetly from their nests. As the day wore on, Willow noticed that the forest seemed quieter than usual. The cheerful chatter of birds was softer, and the rustling of leaves had an expectant hush to it. Even the sun seemed to dim, as if hiding behind the clouds that began to gather in the sky. "Whispering wind," Willow called softly as the breeze returned to her side. "What should I do if the storm comes here? How can I help my friends?" The wind paused, brushing tenderly against her bark. "Listen, Willow. The forest is full of stories, lessons from those who have faced storms before. I will bring them to you. Listen carefully, and you will know what to do." Willow's leaves quivered with determination. She wasn't sure how a young sapling like herself could make a difference. But she trusted the whispering wind. It had always guided her, and she knew it wouldn't lead her astray. As the first drops of rain began to fall, cool and refreshing, Willow stood tall in the meadow. She closed her eyes and felt the wind swirl around her, carrying stories, wisdom, and strength. The storm was coming, but Willow was ready to listen, learn, and protect her woodland friends. As the day wore on, the once bright and cheerful sky began to transform. Clouds gathered in the heavens, thick and grey, rolling in like waves over a darkening sea. The birds that had sung so sweetly in the morning now retreated to their nests, their songs replaced by the low, distant rumble of thunder. The gentle hum of the forest grew quieter, as though every creature was holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. Willow watched it all with wide-eyed wonder. The whispering wind had told her many tales of storms, of how they swept through the forest, shaking leaves from the tallest trees, and how the rains would nourish the earth, helping new life to grow. But this storm felt different. There was a tension in the air, a kind of nervous energy that made Willow's leaves tremble. The whispering wind returned, circling around Willow with a steady, purposeful presence. Its whispers were calm but urgent, like a teacher preparing a young student for an important test. "Willow," it said softly, "the storm is drawing near. It will be fierce and powerful, and it will test the forest in ways it hasn't been tested in many seasons. You must listen to me closely now." Willow's slender branches swayed slightly as she leaned into the wind's voice, soaking up every word. "I'm listening," she replied, her voice steady despite the growing unease in her heart. "Storm will bring heavy rains," the wind explained, "and the river will rise. The rabbits in their burrows by the bank must move to higher ground. The birds will need shelter where the branches are strong enough to hold them, and the smaller saplings will need someone to shield them from the wind's force." Willow's leaves quivered. "How can I help them? I'm so small, and my branches are not as strong as the older trees." The wind swirled around her, brushing gently against her bark as if to reassure her. "You may be young, Willow, but you are wise. You have listened to the stories I've carried from every corner of the forest. Within those stories lies the knowledge you need. Trust in what you've learned, and trust in yourself." Willow took a deep breath, her tiny roots digging deeper into the earth, as if to anchor herself for the challenges ahead. She thought of the fox cubs she had heard about in the wind's tales, how they bravely ventured into the unknown with their mother by their side. She thought of the resilient flowers that bloomed after every storm, their petals stretching toward the sun with renewed vigor. The forest had always found a way to thrive, no matter the hardships it faced. "Will you stay with me?" Willow asked the wind, her voice quiet but hopeful. The wind answered with a tender sigh. "Always, little one. I will be here, whispering stories and guidance. You are not alone." As the first raindrops began to fall, cold and fresh against Willow's leaves, she noticed movement at the edge of the meadow. A family of rabbits emerged from their burrow, their fur damp and their noses twitching. The mother rabbit looked around anxiously, her ears flicking at every sound. Her young ones huddled close to her, their tiny bodies trembling as the rain grew heavier. Willow called out to them softly, her voice carried on the wind. "Come closer, friends. The ground here is higher, and the storm waters won't reach this part of the meadow." The mother rabbit hesitated for a moment, her sharp eyes scanning the meadow. But as another clap of thunder rolled through the forest, she nudged her little ones forward. The rabbits scurried to Willow's side, their tiny feet pattering against the damp grass. They huddled at her base, pressing themselves against her trunk for warmth and comfort. The wind swirled again, speaking to Willow in hushed tones. "This is just the beginning. There will be others who need your help. Be ready." Willow nodded, her determination growing with each passing moment. The rain was falling more steadily now, drenching the meadow and forming small streams that trickle through the grass. The storm was coming, and it would test every corner of Whisperwood Forest. But Willow stood tall, her roots firmly planted and her heart filled with resolve. As the sky darkened further and the wind's whispers grew louder, Willow prepared herself for the challenges ahead. She didn't know exactly what the storm would bring, but she knew one thing for certain. She would do everything in her power to protect her woodland friends and the forest she loved so dearly. Willow's leaves quivered. "How can I help them? I'm so small, and my branches are not as strong as the older trees." The wind swirled around her, brushing gently against her bark as if to reassure her. "You may be young, Willow, but you are wise. You have listened to the stories I've carried from every corner of the forest. Within those stories lies the knowledge you need. Trust in what you've learned, and trust in yourself." Willow took a deep breath, her tiny roots digging deeper into the earth, as if to anchor herself for the challenges ahead. She thought of the fox cubs she had heard about in the wind's tales, how they bravely ventured into the unknown with their mother by their side. She thought of the resilient flowers that bloomed after every storm, their petals stretching toward the sun with renewed vigor. The forest had always found a way to thrive, no matter the hardships it faced. "Will you stay with me?" Willow asked the wind, her voice quiet but hopeful. The wind answered with a tender sigh. "Always, little one. I will be here, whispering stories and guidance. You are not alone." As the first raindrops began to fall, cold and fresh against Willow's leaves, she noticed movement at the edge of the meadow. A family of rabbits emerged from their burrow, their fur damp and their noses twitching. The mother rabbit looked around anxiously, her ears flicking at every sound. Her young ones huddled close to her, their tiny bodies trembling as the rain grew heavier. Willow called out to them softly, her voice carried on the wind. "Come closer, friends. The ground here is higher, and the storm waters won't reach this part of the meadow." The mother rabbit hesitated for a moment, her sharp eyes scanning the meadow. But as another clap of thunder rolled through the forest, she nudged her little ones forward. The rabbits scurried to Willow's side, their tiny feet pattering against the damp grass. They huddled at her base, pressing themselves against her trunk for warmth and comfort. The wind swirled again, speaking to Willow in hushed tones. "This is just the beginning. There will be others who need your help. Be ready." Willow nodded, her determination growing with each passing moment. The rain was falling more steadily now, drenching the meadow and forming small streams that trickle through the grass. The storm was coming, and it would test every corner of Whisperwood Forest. But Willow stood tall, her roots firmly planted and her heart filled with resolve. As the sky darkened further and the wind's whispers grew louder, Willow prepared herself for the challenges ahead. She didn't know exactly what the storm would bring, but she knew one thing for certain. She would do everything in her power to protect her woodland friends and the forest she loved so dearly. Willow's leaves quivered. "How can I help them? I'm so small, and my branches are not as strong as the older trees." The wind swirled around her, brushing gently against her bark as if to reassure her. "You may be young, Willow, but you are wise. you have listened to the stories I've carried from every corner of the forest. Within those stories lies the knowledge you need. Trust in what you've learned, and trust in yourself. Willow took a deep breath, her tiny roots digging deeper into the earth, as if to anchor herself for the challenges ahead. She thought of the fox cubs she had heard about in the wind's tales, how they bravely ventured into the unknown with their mother by their side. She thought of the resilient flowers that bloomed after every storm, their petals stretching toward the sun with renewed vigor. The forest had always found a way to thrive, no matter the hardships it faced. "Will you stay with me?" Willow asked the wind, her voice quiet but hopeful. The wind answered with a tender sigh. "Always, little one. I will be here, whispering stories and guidance. You are not alone." As the first raindrops began to fall, cold and fresh against Willow's leaves, she noticed movement at the edge of the meadow. A family of rabbits emerged from their burrow, their fur damp and their noses twitching. The mother rabbit looked around anxiously, her ears flicking at every sound. Her young ones huddled close to her, their tiny bodies trembling as the rain grew heavier. Willow called out to them softly, her voice carried on the wind. "Come closer, friends. The ground here is higher, and the storm waters won't reach this part of the meadow." The mother rabbit hesitated for a moment, her sharp eyes scanning the meadow. But as another clap of thunder rolled through the forest, she nudged her little ones forward. The rabbits scurried to Willow's side, their tiny feet pattering against the damp grass. They huddled at her base, pressing themselves against her trunk for warmth and comfort. The wind swirled again, speaking to Willow in hushed tones. "This is just the beginning. There will be others who need your help. Be ready." Willow nodded, her determination growing with each passing moment. The rain was falling more steadily now, drenching the meadow and forming small streams that trickled through the grass. The storm was coming, and it would test every corner of Whisperwood Forest. But Willow stood tall, her roots firmly planted and her heart filled with resolve. As the sky darkened further and the wind's whispers grew louder, Willow prepared herself for the challenges ahead. She didn't know exactly what the storm would bring, but she knew one thing for certain. She would do everything in her power to protect her woodland friends and the forest she loved so dearly. "Welcome," Willow said warmly, her voice steady despite the storm's growing ferocity. "Stay close and stay safe." The sparrows chirped their thanks, their feathers ruffled but their spirits lifted by Willow's kindness. The hedgehogs, though shy, huddled with the rabbits, their quills harmlessly mingling with soft fur. As the group grew, Willow felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her. She wanted to protect them all, but the storm's fury was only increasing. Lightning flashed across the sky, followed by a deafening crack of thunder that sent a ripple of fear through the gathered animals. Willow's branches quivered. "Stay calm," she whispered, her voice soothing. "We're in this together." The wind returned, carrying with it new whispers. "The river is rising," it warned. "The creatures along its banks are in danger." Willow's heart sank. She thought of the otters who played in the shallows and the frogs that sang their songs at dusk. "We have to help them," she told the wind. "But how?" "Send a message," the wind urged. "You've called them to safety once before. Do it again." Willow concentrated, her branches trembling as she called out once more. "To the creatures by the river! The storm is rising, and you must leave your homes. Come to the meadow. There is safety here." The wind carried her words through the trees, and moments later, the first of the river's inhabitants appeared. An otter family scampered into the meadow, their fur slick with rain. A trio of frogs hopped close behind, their croaks drowned out by the storm's howls. They were followed by a heron, its great wings beating against the wind as it landed gracefully near Willow. "You've done well," the wind told Willow, its voice proud. "But the storm is far from over." As the animals gathered, Willow noticed a tiny sparrow struggling against the wind. Its small wings fought to stay aloft, but the storm's power was too much. It let out a frightened chirp as it tumbled through the air, and Willow's heart ached for the little bird. "Hold on!" Willow called, reaching out with her branches. The sparrow, hearing her voice, flapped with all its might, aiming for the shelter of her leaves. With one final effort, it landed safely on Willow's branch, shivering but unharmed. "You're safe now," Willow said softly, cradling the sparrow with her leaves. "Rest here." The sparrow chirped its gratitude, nestling close to Willow's trunk. Around her, the animals seemed to draw strength from her presence, their fear easing as they found safety in the growing community. The storm continued to rage, the wind howling and the rain pouring in sheets. But within the meadow, a sense of unity began to form. The animals huddled together, their combined warmth and courage creating a small beacon of hope amidst the chaos. Willow felt a surge of pride and purpose. She might be young, but she had listened to the stories of the forest and learned from them. The storm was a test, and she was determined to rise to the challenge. As the night deepened, Willow's roots dug even deeper into the earth, anchoring her against the storm's force. The wind whispered words of encouragement, reminding her of the resilience that lay within her. She was not alone, and neither were her woodland friends. The storm might have been powerful, but the strength of the forest, its unity, its kindness, and its unwavering hope was greater. Together, they would weather the storm and emerge stronger on the other side. The storm showed no signs of relenting. Lightning lit up the meadow with fleeting bursts of blinding light, and the thunder that followed shook the ground beneath Willow's roots. Rain lashed the forest, and the wind, which once whispered stories, now screamed with a ferocity that made the tallest trees sway dangerously. But amidst the chaos, the meadow around Willow became a sanctuary of hope. The gathered animals, once frightened, now found comfort in each other's company. Willow's gentle presence, her soothing words, carried by the wind, and her unyielding determination kept their fears at bay. As the storm raged on, Willow noticed something that made her branches tremble with concern. The stream that trickled through the meadow was now a raging torrent, its waters spilling over the banks and creeping toward the animals huddled nearby. "The water's rising," Willow said, her voice filled with urgency. "We need to act quickly." The sparrow on her branch chirped nervously. "What can we do? We can't stop the rain." The wind swirled around them, whispering a solution. "The trees by the stream can help. They've weathered storms like this before. But they need guidance. Your guidance." Willow took a deep breath. Though she was young and had never led before, she felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. "Stay together," she told the animals. "I'll be back soon." Her roots reached out, connecting with the network of trees along the stream. She felt their fear as the water surged around them, threatening to uproot their stability. "We must strengthen the banks," Willow urged them. "Your roots can hold the soil. Together, We can stop the water from flooding the meadow." The elder trees, their trunks thick and weathered, responded first. "We hear you, Willow. We'll do our part." As their roots intertwined with hers, Willow felt their strength flow into her. The younger trees followed, their branches trembling but their resolve growing. The network of roots beneath the soil created a barrier, slowing the water's advance. The stream still raged, but the meadow was safe, for now. Just as Willow began to feel a glimmer of hope, a new challenge arose. A loud, panicked honking echoed through the storm. Willow turned her branches toward the sound and saw a family of geese struggling against the wind. The mother goose flapped her wings desperately, trying to keep her goslings together, but the gusts were too strong. "They need help!" cried the sparrow. "The wind is too much for them," Willow called out to the animals around her. "We must help the geese. Who can guide them here?" The otter family stepped forward, their sleek bodies built for navigating water and wind. "We'll go," said the otter mother. "Our strength lies in teamwork." With the otters leading the way, the geese followed through the rain-soaked meadow. The goslings stumbled and slipped, but the otters circled back, nudging them forward and shielding them from the worst of the wind. When they finally reached Willow's shelter, the geese collapsed with exhaustion, their feathers drenched but their spirits saved. "Thank you," said the mother goose, her voice shaking with gratitude. "You saved us." Willow swayed her branches gently. "We're all in this together. Rest now. You're safe here." The storm reached its peak. The rain fell in relentless sheets, and the wind howled like 1,000 voices crying out at once. Willow felt her branches strain against the force, and even her deeply rooted trunk trembled. Yet she stood firm, her resolve unbroken. Suddenly a sharp cracking sound pierced the air. One of the elder trees by the stream groaned as its trunk split. The weight of the water and the storm's ferocity had proven too much. The tree toppled toward the meadow, its massive branches threatening the safety of the animals below. "Look out!" Willow cried, her voice rising above the storm. The deer sprang into action, guiding the smaller animals away from the falling tree. The sparrows took to the air, their wings beating furiously against the wind. Willow extended her branches as far as she could, using them to shield the rabbits and hedgehogs huddled at her base. The tree crashed to the ground, its branches splintering but stopping short of the animals. The danger had passed, but the meadow sanctuary felt more fragile than ever. Willow turned to the wind. "What can we do? The storm is too strong. I don't know if I'm enough." The wind swirled around her, its voice steady and reassuring. "You are stronger than you realize, Willow, and you are not alone. Trust in the forest, and it will guide you." Willow closed her eyes, recalling the stories the wind had whispered to her over the years. She remembered the tale of the river and the mountain, where the river's persistence carved a path through solid rock. She thought of the story of the tiny ants that built a bridge of their bodies to save their colony. Each story carried a lesson: strength in unity, resilience in the face of adversity, and the power of kindness and courage. Drawing on these lessons, Willow spoke to the animals. "We can't stop the storm, but we can work together to endure it. Each of us has a strength to share. If we combine them, we can protect the meadow." The animals listened, their fear giving way to determination. The otters and frogs worked to dig small channels, diverting the water away from the meadow. The sparrows and heron gathered leaves and twigs to create barriers against the wind. Even the deer, used their strong bodies to shield the smaller creatures from the worst of the rain. As the animals worked, Willow felt a surge of pride and hope. The meadow, once a peaceful haven, had become a hub of activity and unity. Together they were stronger than the storm. Hours passed, and the storm began to show signs of weakening. The wind's howls softened to whispers, and the rain, though steady, lost some of its ferocity. The animals, exhausted but resolute, continued their efforts. Then, a beam of sunlight broke through the clouds. It was faint at first, but it grew stronger, casting a golden light over the meadow. The animals paused, their eyes turning to the sky. "It's ending," Willow whispered, her voice filled with relief. The wind swirled gently around her. "You've done well, Willow. You've shown courage, wisdom, and kindness. The forest will remember this day." As the storm finally passed, the meadow was transformed. The once soggy ground glistened with dew, and the air was filled with the fresh scent of rain. The animals emerged from their shelters, their spirits lifted by the sunlight. Willow stood tall, her branches swaying gently in the breeze. She had weathered the storm, not just by standing firm, but by bringing the forest together. The stories she had learned from the wind had come to life, and she had become a part of them. "Thank you, Willow," said the mother goose, her goslings nestled at her feet. "You saved us all." Willow swayed her branches in acknowledgement. "We saved each other," she said. "That's the true strength of the forest." As the first rays of morning sunlight filtered through the canopy, the forest came alive with the soft hum of life. Dewdrops clung to the blades of grass, sparkling like tiny diamonds, and the air carried the fresh, earthy scent of rain-soaked soil. The storm had passed, leaving behind a tranquil calm that seemed to embrace every corner of the meadow. Willow stood tall in the center of the meadow, her leaves glistening with droplets that shimmered like stars. Her roots, which had anchored her through the fiercest winds, now felt stronger than ever, deeply entwined with the soil and the network of trees around her. She swayed gently in the breeze, her branches stretching upward as if reaching for the sun. The animals, who had found shelter and hope beneath Willow's canopy, began to stir. The mother goose and her goslings emerged from their resting place, their feathers dry and fluffed. The otter family yawned and stretched, their sleek fur gleaming in the sunlight. Even the sparrow, who had perched anxiously on Willow's branch through the storm, chirped a cheerful melody, signaling a new day. As you settle into the warmth of your bed, imagine the wisdom of the whispering wind surrounding you. It carries words just for you, words that remind you how special and loved you are. Whisper to yourself, "I am strong, like the roots of the trees that anchor them to the earth. I am brave, like Willow, standing tall through the storm. I am kind, like the animals of the meadow helping one another. I am loved, like the forest cherishes every leaf, flower, and creature." Repeat these words in your heart, letting them fill you with warmth, just like the morning sun shining through the trees. Now imagine you are lying on a soft cloud, high above the meadow. The whispering wind lifts you gently, carrying you through the stars. You feel light, like a feather, floating effortlessly. Below you see the forest, calm and peaceful under the silvery glow of the moon. The trees sway gently, their leaves glistening with dewdrops. The animals are safe in their cozy dens, and Willow stands proud, her branches spreading wide like open arms. The wind guides you over sparkling streams where otters play in the moonlight. It carries you over fields of wildflowers that sway like waves in the sea. The air is filled with the soothing scent of lavender and pine. You are weightless, floating on the whispers of the wind. With every breath, you feel yourself sinking deeper into this peaceful world. Feel your body becoming heavier now, as if the roots of a tree are anchoring you to your bed. Your arms and legs feel warm and soft, as if wrapped in the coziest blanket. The wind whispers gently, "Let go of your worries. Let them drift away." Imagine your worries as little leaves on the breeze. Watch as they float away, higher and higher, until they disappear into the sky. You are free, you are calm, you are ready to rest. As you drift towards sleep, think about the things that made you smile today. Maybe it was a kind word, a warm hug, or the sound of laughter. Imagine these moments as little lights, glowing softly in your heart. Let them shine, reminding you of the goodness in your world. Whisper to yourself, "I am grateful for today. I am excited for tomorrow. I am proud of who I am." The whispering wind carries you now deeper into a world of dreams. What will you find there? Perhaps you'll visit Willow in her meadow, where the stars shine like diamonds and the trees hum with ancient songs. Perhaps you'll float through a sea of clouds, where every step feels like walking on soft marshmallows. Or maybe you'll meet the friendly animals of the forest, who will share their stories with you. Your dreams are yours to explore, a magical place where anything is possible. You are safe, you are loved, you are ready to rest. Feel your eyes becoming heavy, like leaves at the end of the day. Your breathing is slow and steady, like the rhythm of the forest. Good night, little one. The whispering wind will watch over you, carrying you gently into the sweetest of dreams. Sleep well. The forest is quiet now, wrapped in the soft embrace of night. The stars twinkle gently above, like tiny lanterns guiding dreams to every corner of the world. Willow stands tall and proud in her meadow, her branches still swaying softly, as if humming a lullaby to the woodland creatures. The whispering wind carries its final good nights, flowing gently through the trees and across the fields. It leaves a promise in the air, a promise of more stories, more adventures, and more magic to come. Now it's time to say goodbye to Willow and her friends, but only for a little while. As you rest, you can imagine her standing in the moonlit meadow, her roots deep in the earth and her branches reaching for the sky. Remember, you are part of the forest's magic too. You are strong, you are brave, and you are loved. Close your eyes and let the wind guide you into a peaceful sleep. It will carry your dreams to places where wonder and beauty never end. Sleep well, little one. Sweet dreams, and until next time, good night.